Join me now to react, representing Georgia's 8th Congressional District, Congressman Austin Scott. Congressman, thank you so much for joining me. So, Congressman, our heart goes out to the family of this young man. I can't imagine what they're going through right now. But you have to notice how noticeably silent the Biden administration has been in regards to this young man's death. They were quick to talk about and falsely accuse Border Patrol agents of whipping migrants, yet they're silent on this. It is truly disturbing.
Yeah, so he's just such a young man, right? I mean, young 20s, out there doing his part for the country, and our heart goes out for them. And it's amazing to me that at the White House they're more defensive of the illegal immigrants, the ones who are engaged in drug trafficking, than they are of the Texas National Guard member. And so my heart goes out to the young soldier. I mean, it's just proof of how dangerous it is at that border. These people should not be able to come into the United States illegally. We absolutely not only need to know who, but what is coming into this country. And these were smugglers. And unfortunately, in the Biden administration, there'll probably be a catch and release where they'll put them right back on the street.
Yeah, and what really bothers me is we saw in that video of Jen Psaki during the White House briefing that she was trying to shift blame and point fingers at Governor Greg Abbott, when actually, no, it's not Abbott's fault. He's doing everything that he can to put a stop to the surge of migrants coming across the border, yet we have an administration that's looking the other way. The chatter of lifting Title 42 and everything else, like handing out the smartphones, providing transportation, hotel, and everything else.
Yeah, well, look at the free cell phones they're giving them. I mean, it's just, they're totally tone deaf and indifferent to what's happening on the streets of America. And America's paying a price for it right now. And candidly, when you get to November, I think Democrats, Republicans, and Independents are going to come together, and they're going to reject this nonsense that's happening in the White House. And if you look at what's happening in the Senate, where now you've got senators saying, hey, wait a minute, we need to stop what's going on at the border. These are Democratic senators that are actually, since they're up for re-election, saying they need to stop some of this stuff at the border or they're going to get beat. I mean, that's indicative of what the reality is on the ground. And again, for the White House to be indifferent to it, it's token of how tone deaf they are and how controlled they are by the extreme left that's been pressing the Democratic Party further and further off the cliff.
And when I said that Texas was doing everything that they can to fight back against the administration when it comes to this open border, I saw that Texas had filed their 10th border crisis lawsuit against the Biden administration. I mean, I don't know what more they can possibly do.
Yeah, well, and they're doing everything they can. I mean, unfortunately, what the Biden administration is doing, I mean, think about the fact that they're distributing people who are illegally in the United States, who are not U.S. citizens, who constitutionally are prohibited from voting in the United States, and they're sending them to these liberal cities where they're actually going to allow them to vote in municipal elections. So it's just it's an absolutely ridiculous position that the Biden administration has. It's unbelievable that they've moved this far to the left, but they have. And so hopefully America goes to the polls in November. They're going to vote to reject this nonsense, and then we as Republicans in the House and the Senate, we're going to have to do things through the appropriation process that force them to actually construct the wall.
Yeah, and I hope that they do. Now I want to shift gears here and talk about the crime surge that we're still seeing in this country. And I noticed that in D.C. in the mayoral race there, crime has become a big focus of the race. With that being said, it's like a lot of the Democrats and their policies are leading to this crime surge. I mean, you can't deny the numbers. Yet I'm wondering how seriously they're taking it. And there's been a crime spike in Washington, D.C. as well. I'm sure you've taken notice.
Yeah, violent crime spike too, and spikes against our law enforcement officers. And so again, I mean, this is the end result of bad policy that is naive, both with regard to the border, with regard to how you deal with violent crime. You can't just let a violent criminal out, suspending their sentences or not trying them, when they're simply going to go out there and hurt somebody else. There's a difference in a petty theft crime and somebody who commits an act of violence against another human being. And we can't ignore that. And so again, it's not okay. The American citizens know it's not okay. I don't know any Democrats, I don't know any independents, I don't know any Republicans who thinks it's okay to let violent crime go without an arrest, a prosecution, and a prison sentence.
Yeah, I don't know how closely you were following this story, but it happened in Northwest D.C. There was a shooting. We have video from the alleged shooter that police have released. So let's take a look at that and we'll react after. Roll tape. This is something that you wouldn't imagine happening in Washington, D.C. This looks like something out of like a third world country. And, you know, it really hardly got any national media attention.
Well, it's just proof that the liberal media is in bed with the Biden administration. They don't want any bad news. I've been in committee meetings all day, so honestly, I haven't seen that actual clip. But just listening to the audio, you can tell there's a lot of damage being done. And so I'll look at that clip as soon as I get the opportunity to. But again, this is not okay. Violence is something that has to be dealt with. You can't pretend it's going to go away. You can't say pretty please to these people who have done physical damage and harm to somebody else. And so, you know, I think that we can stop some of this. We can move things in the right direction. The way you move it in the right direction is you hold the prosecutors accountable and you protect the law enforcement officers that are out there doing everything they can on a daily basis.
Yeah, and then in regards to that shooting, that happened near the Edmund Burke School. They had shut down the school for a couple days, and so this is happening in an area where there's children. And so, again, they really need to get a handle on crime because people deserve to live in safe communities.
Absolutely. They want to live in safe communities.
Yeah. And this is going to be a big issue, I believe, in the midterms because people are going to be thinking about, you know, is my life better today than it was before? And it is going to be a big issue. And we've seen some of the Democrats try to distract us and say that they had nothing to do with the defund police movement, yet we have video of it. We have the internet. So this is something that we can track and follow.
Yeah, the facts speak for themselves. Americans are a whole lot smarter than the Democrats think they are. And when November rolls around, Americans are going to get to go to the polls and they're going to get to speak their piece. And I think ultimately what Americans want is people who govern honestly. And so I think the democracy is going to speak. I think it's going to speak loud and clear. I think the Republicans are going to control the House and the Senate. Unfortunately, we'll have to still deal with a White House that you know, is pushed around by the far left, but we'll be able to do some things through the investigations and the appropriations process to stop some of this. And then we've got to get a president that, you know, respects the integrity of the American borders and American ingenuity and works to save that American dream.
Yeah, absolutely.